So another trick that I have learned to do over the years is to, if you've got a bunch of different colors that you're going to be doing, I put these bags in a cup. Let me do this first. Let me get a few. Okay. It helps if your fingers are just a little bit wet. Okay, so put them inside each other like this. And this makes it a lot easier whenever you're putting the different colors of royal icing in, because you see how long it takes to fool with these things. And this is just going to save you time whenever you're putting your royal icing in the bags after you've got your consistency or your colors or what have you mixed. Now, if you don't have a spray bottle, you will want, before you even start this process, you're going to want to cover that royal icing with a wet paper towel, because the stuff dries and starts crusting really fast. Right, so fold those over like that, stick them in the cup, and now these are ready. Okay, that one's a bigger one. I'm going to save it. So I think this one is I think that one's a 16 and this one's maybe a 14. I don't know. Anyway. Oh wait, this tells you. So who knows? At any rate. Alright, so now we're ready. So I'm going to grab a bowl. I know one of the most I'm going to need is going to be white. So I'm going to need white in a variety of different consistencies. So this is the hardest part of cookie decorating. Learning what consistencies you need to do what you are trying to do as far as your design, and then knowing what that looks like and knowing when to stop adding water. Okay, so we're going to go through that. So I recommend having a smaller spatula like this. You want one that's kind of firm. You don't want one that's like super duper flimsy, but one that's small enough, because sometimes you're going to be mixing in smaller bowls. Now, this consistency is like toothpaste. Okay, if you are going to do, let's say, flowers, and you want that, whatever you pipe, you don't want it to move. You want it to stay where you put it. You want it to stay in the same shape or hold its form. This is what you want. I rarely use this for anything other than like a cookie to like decorate with that no one's going to eat, because it's going to get so hard that it's hard to bite into. So unless I'm doing roses or flowers or, you know, some intricate detail, something or other, I don't use that consistency. So really the way that you get what you want, the consistency that you want, is just keep adding water. And as I said before, it's very easy to regulate how much water you're putting in if you use a spray bottle versus trying to pour it in, right? You can add more, but it's really hard to take it back out. So we're just going to keep mixing and adding water. So what I need is a riding icing. That's what I'm going for right now. So this is still the consistency of toothpaste, right? It's not falling into itself. It's staying where I put it. It's not moving. So for riding icing, you want it to fall into itself just a little bit. You want to be able to manipulate it You want it to stay where you put it. You don't want a lot of spread. You really don't want much spread for writing icing. But you also don't want it to be so crunchy that you can see every single stroke that you make with your bag when you're doing your lettering. And we're still not there. It's still not settling in at all. You guys, this is a long process, okay? And I'm taking my time to show you all each little stage of adding water. And you can see, or I hope you can see, that it's starting to soften somewhat. But I'm just going to keep going. And if it like with white, all right, so I know I'm going to use a lot of white on this order. I'm going to go ahead and put a lot of white in my bowl because I can, and I'm going to start out by making the consistency that I need that is the thickest first. Okay, so that was a good, I don't know if y'all can see, but it's starting to kind of fall now. We're so close. You can see it settles in just a little bit. So keep going with this. Okay, we're going to keep stirring just a little bit. We're going to get all that water incorporated in there. And I'm not sure that you guys can see or not, but it's starting to get a little shinier. It's not so harsh on the edges. So we're getting very close. You can see it falling there a little bit. We're very close to our writing icing. This would be really good if you were doing berries or anything that you wanted it to be a little softer. You didn't want to see the marks from the bag or anything like that, but it will still hold its shape quite nicely. So we're still just adding water and stirring, and a little bit at a time. You don't have to be in a hurry. Okay, take your time. Okay. This is looking, can you see that falling? So this is kind of what you're looking for writing icing. It's not staying exactly where you put it. It's falling down in there. The edges have started curling over when I pull up. That is very close. I'm gonna go just a little bit more water in here. And again, this to me has always been the most time consuming and the hardest to learn is the consistencies. What consistency you need. Now, if you were to try to flood a cookie with this, no, it'd be over. That would be the worst. Because it would never flatten out. It would never be smooth. Okay, so I really feel like this is what I'm going to need. I can shake this and it's going to kind of fall into where I want it to. Okay, so this is what I need for writing icing. And I don't need a ton, so I'm just going to scoop out some. All right, and put it into my first bag. Okay. Just gonna pull it out there. Serrate that down. Get that air bubble out of there. Now they have bag ties and, you know, all sorts of little cute little ties that you can use. I just use a knot. Unless the bag is so full that I don't have enough room at the end to tie a knot, then I'll use like a twist tie. I'll tell you, and I have learned another thing. If you have a lot of bag left at the end, cut that off. Okay, I've ruined lots of cookies with the end of that bag, which sounds ridiculous, but that's the truth. All right, I'm gonna spray this a little bit more. Okay, now the next thing I need is my flood icing, or what I also refer to as my 20-second icing. So what I mean by that, a 20-second icing is what I typically do. Instead of doing an outline icing, which is a little bit more water than what I would put in for writing. So your outline icing is going to be about this consistency. But I typically don't, unless I'm doing a different color for an outline, I don't do an outline icing. Or if I want, you know, certain definitive lines in a certain design, I just do a 20-second icing. Okay, and I'm about to show you what that means. So a 20-second icing is going to fall into itself and be smooth in 20 seconds. So from the time that you lay some over the top, you just count to 20. And if that dissolves or falls into itself within 20 seconds, then that's your 20-second icing, okay? And there you go. So that is the perfect consistency to flood. For me, anyway. Some people prefer it to be thinner. I'll also say, I think I am going to add a little bit more water. I'll also say that the thinner your icing is, the harder it is to control. So especially if you're not using an outline icing, it's going to, your flooding icing, if it's too thin, it's going to fall off the side of your cookie. It takes longer to dry. If you're doing multiple colors, if you're laying multiple colors, it's going to bleed into each other. Has been my experience. Now, I live in the South, lots of humidity. Things don't, you know, it's just different here. If you live out west, that may not be the case for you. So this is really what I'm looking for an outline, 20-second icing. That's the consistency that I want. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get this bigger bag because that is a good bit more icing. Okay. Just tie a knot in that. Now, if you have a lot of different consistencies of the same color, like I know this is the flood icing. I know there's a lot of it, and I know this is the writing because, you know, there's not much. So, but if you have a lot of different consistencies of the same color, that, let's just say I had a lot of bags that were this, you can actually save some of the tip of this and just put the initial F for flood or W for writing or O for outline. You get the point. I've actually gotten to the point to where I don't even have to do that. I can just hit the bag and tell if it doesn't hold its shape, you know. So that's just another nice little tip for you. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next color. Now that has stayed nice and soft because I keep adding a little bit of water here and there.